Well, good evening. Welcome to Tuesday's Tea. My name is Dani LeBerry. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. I teach ambitious women effective tools to build confidence and feel worthy again, whether post breakup, single, or in a relationship. And if this is your first time in our Affinity Lounge Women's Group, welcome. Welcome to Tuesday's Tea. Tuesday's Tea has always been, we've had Tuesday's Tea in the past. I want to say maybe a few years ago, maybe about 2.5 years ago, my friend Lauren and I held Tuesday's Tea here in the Affinity Lounge Women's Group. And we were doing it pretty regularly. Eventually, kind of fizzled out like a lot of things do. And so I am trying to revive it, bring it back. It is every other month here in the Affinity Lounge Women's Group. The intention is it's a comfortable space, put on some comfy clothes, put on your sweatshirt, make your favorite cup of tea. If you have not already, actually, I'm glad we're talking about this, is as women are joining us, trickling into the room. And by the way, type in the comments, let me know if you're catching this live or if you're catching this as a replay. Make sure to grab your journal. If you haven't already, grab a notebook or grab your journal because we are going to be doing a little bit of journal writing. Not very much, because I only have you for 15 minutes. And with that said, actually, speaking of 15 minutes, my intention of doing Tuesday's Tea here in the Affinity Lounge Women's Group is that you tune in, you tap in, and we touch base. So the idea is that it's uplifting, it's to the point, it's effective, it's helping you feel better. It's not something that goes on and on and on, right? It's supportive and helpful to you. It prevents burnout for me, and I'm able to support people, more people as I'd like to, and still be able to be accessible, right? So again, if this is your first time joining me, meeting me, interacting with me, thank you for being here. You could be here you could be anywhere right now at this point in time and tonight. And for you to prioritize yourself, I want to honor you and acknowledge you for that. My name is Dani, and the Affinity Lounge Women's Group is a community of women. It's a resource teaching ambitious women effective tools to manage waves of intense, challenging emotions, being able to navigate conflict, expressing your feelings better, getting clear on and establishing boundaries, improving your communication, improving your relationships, and ultimately improving the quality of your life. As I'm giving it a couple minutes for women to join, I think my mom is watching. Hi, Mom. Make sure you type in the comments. Let me know what you think as we go along here. As we are trickling in and giving some time for some women to join us here live or as a replay, like type in the comments if you're catching this as a replay. Mom is watching from Miami. I want to mention that we do kindly request that what's posted here, what's discussed here, stays in here. Confidentiality and respect for others' privacy. Our intention is to create a safe space here that is supportive, inspirational, and motivating, pouring into your cup so you can show up to your life feeling clear, confident, and fulfilled without the need of things like unhealthy relationships, alcohol, or other unhealthy habits. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me, send me a message, or the Affinity Lounge Women's moderator, Samantha May. All right, so with that said, grab your journal, grab your pen, grab your cup of tea, and let's get into tonight's topic. So tonight's topic, we are talking about sense of self, worth, value, and esteem. I know that people tend to use all three of those terms very interchangeably, but they do actually mean different things. So we will be going into that. We're going to talk about the difference between self-esteem and self-worth. We're going to talk about why they matter, what improves self-esteem, what improves self-worth, what diminishes self-esteem, what diminishes self-worth, benefits of high self-esteem and self-worth, and we're going to close out with any questions, comments, feedback, and then some announcements. All right, so let me just grab my notes here because if I don't, I will have us here all night. Have us here all night. Um, so I want to make sure that I'm very concise. I get to all the topics that I want to touch on and make sure that we stay on track with time. Okay. And by the way, if you have any feedback, any comments on the topic so far, please don't hesitate to type. If you're on Zoom here, I have attendees on Zoom here typing in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, in the Facebook group, typing in the comments. So self-worth is your belief in your own value as a person. Self-worth generally comes from within. Self-esteem has to do with your opinion of your traits and abilities, and this often comes from outside sources. So the difference is one is from within and the other one gauges more from external. One is more internal, the other is more external. You can boost both through self-compassion and building relationships with people who value you. Do you ever notice that you tend to be hard on yourself, for example, when you make mistakes? Do you tend to look to others for constant validation? Do you notice that you struggle to advocate for yourself? If you notice any of these things, these are common issues that relate to self-worth and self-esteem. And like I was saying earlier, these are two terms that share some overlap, but they don't mean the exact same thing. Self-esteem describes how you think and feel about yourself, while self-worth describes how much you value yourself. Both self-esteem and self-worth can affect many aspects of your life, from your mental health and motivation to your professional success and even your romantic relationships. So here's how to tell the two apart and how to foster both in your own life. So self-esteem stems from external factors. So think of approval from other people or how you perform certain tasks. Self-worth, on the other hand, comes from within. So you can think of this as a deep-rooted internal belief that you are worthy of love and respect, regardless of your accomplishments or your abilities. So, what improves self-esteem? Performing well in your school or performing well at work? Receiving sincere compliments or positive feedback from your supervisor, from your parent, from a mentor, or others in your life? Maintaining strong friendships, maintaining a strong support system. That's why it's so important to be in groups, connections, hobbies, things like that. Finding new hobbies you're naturally good at or honing certain skills and talents. What improves self-worth? This has more to do with receiving unconditional love from caregivers, having your basic needs for attention, validation, and emotional support met by caregivers and other loved ones, having your boundaries respected by loved ones, forming and maintaining healthy, respectful relationships. So that improves self-worth. While your caregivers often model and shape your self-worth early in life, you can still build up your sense of self-worth even if you didn't get enough love, support, or encouragement as a child. I know that some of the clients that I work with on a one-to-one basis, everyone's childhood is different. Some of them didn't experience much conflict or much of anything in their childhood. When I say much of anything, meaning emotional, physical, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse, anything like that. So diminishing what diminishes self-esteem and what diminishes self-worth. So as far as what diminishes self-esteem, perceived failures, so like doing poorly on a test, experiencing rejection from, say, somebody that you're romantically interested in, or not getting the job that you interviewed for, constantly comparing yourself to others, lacking opportunities for advancing or bettering your life, hearing verbal put downs or other discouragements from people around you, experiencing direct prejudice or discrimination. These are all different things that diminish your self esteem. Now, what diminishes self worth? Experiencing any kind of abuse, particularly in childhood, Being in toxic or disrespectful romantic relationships where boundaries are ignored, being neglected by parents or caregivers, not receiving emotional support from loved ones, only receiving love and affection under certain conditions. Like, say, for example, when you got good grades or you performed well in sports. So, why does all of this even matter, right? Why are we even talking about any of this? Both self-esteem and self-worth can play a part in your overall well-being, as well as your ability to maintain relationships, advancing in your career, and functioning in everyday life. Low self-esteem and self-worth can lead you to shying away from challenges. It can lead you to avoid advocating for yourself. You may notice yourself starting to lack motivation to pursue your goals or your dreams. You start noticing that you're feeling insecure in your relationships. You may even find yourself, like me, this was me a few years ago, staying in a toxic or abusive relationship. Some evidence also links low self esteem with anxiety and depression. And other research suggests students with low self esteem often have defense mechanisms that can get in the way of success and take a further toll on self esteem. So, for instance, you might be prone to defensive pessimism, or what that means is that you're imagining and you're planning for the very worst possible outcomes. So let's wrap this up. It is 8 o'clock, and I kind of want to tie this all in a nutshell. The benefits of having improving, in your self-esteem and your self-worth is that you can pursue new opportunities. You'll find yourself speaking up for yourself. Like, for example, when asking for a raise, or setting up and implementing and practicing a boundary with other people. It helps you to identify and maintain healthy relationships, fulfilling relationships. This also helps you to better navigate life's obstacles, having better physical and mental health. You'll find that you'll enjoy greater success at school or at work. So, an overall improvement of the quality of your life. So, just really quick, how to boost self worth and self esteem. Get curious about yourself. Acknowledge your thoughts, whether you feel negatively about those thoughts. If those thoughts feel kind of like flawed or weak, challenge yourself, challenge your thoughts. Nurturing your relationships. This can truly boost your self-esteem because you're surrounding yourself with supportive and loving individuals who believe in you and reinforce your worth. Recognize your wins, all of your wins, no matter how big, no matter how small. Reframe your comparisons. I hate to use cliches, but a big cliche, or often a cliche that's often used, is comparison is the thief of joy. So reframing your comparison. If you have your journal nearby, journaling things like, what have you learned? How have you grown? What accomplishments might surprise your younger self? Practicing positive affirmations, things like, I deserve love and I give love generously, or I am strong and capable of handling whatever life throws at me. When to get support. So, making sure that you're aware that if low self esteem or self worth begins to negatively affect your ability to function day to day, that is the time to reach out. Reach out to a mental health professional, reach out to myself if you're interested in working together. If it's not me, reaching out to someone that you're comfortable with, a mental health professional, a counselor, a coach. Just someone who can be a supportive soundboard that is not enmeshed in your environment, in your personal life. All right. So let me know again, type it in the comments. If you have any feedback, let me know if this was helpful. Oh, I just missed this. I just noticed that my sister is on, Ranella, watching from Trinidad. Thank you so much for joining us, Ranella. Let me know in the comments, or in the chat, if you have any questions, any feedback on tonight's Tuesday's tea. While I am waiting for people to write in the comments some feedback, some questions on tonight's Tuesday's tea, I just want to make an announcement. So we have a few things going on this month. I just want to make an announcement of when our next Tuesday tea is, and let me see what else we have going on here. Okay, so Feel Good Friday. If you're not already in the Affinity Lounge group, we have two groups. We have the Affinity Lounge, which is a public group open to men and women. And then we have the Affinity Lounge Women's group, this group, which it's only women. So Feel Good Friday, every other Friday in the Affinity Lounge, where there's men and women, we had last Friday, we were talking about mental, emotional, and spiritual health. On the 22nd, we're going to be talking about dealing with conflict, establishing boundaries. I'm really looking forward to that. I really like Feel Good Friday. It's very similar to this. 15 minutes, tune in, tap in, touch base, uplifting. We're talking about things that are working at improving the quality of your life. So that topic, dealing with conflict, is having to do with communication. Notice that if when conflict arises in your life, how do you react? How do you respond? Do you stonewall? Do you shut down? Are you passive aggressive? Establishing boundaries. What are your boundaries? What do you allow? What do you not allow? Do you find yourself saying yes when you mean no or no when you mean yes? So we're going to be talking about that on Friday, the 22nd at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time in the Affinity Lounge. And then our next Tuesday's tea, which is like this here in the Affinity Lounge Women's Group, Tuesday the 26th, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about acceptance and surrender. Acceptance and surrender. My last and final announcement is I am launching a 6-week intensive the end of March, the beginning of April. It is 6 weeks of us working together as a group on different themes and different topics each week. 3 of those 6 weeks you will be familiar with because we went over some of those topics in the Back to Basics intensive, the 3-day intensive that we did here in the Affinity Lounge Women's Group recently. So if you're interested in working together, I am shifting and redoing my business model. I'm moving away from the traditional individual therapy, one-on-one, one-off sessions, and moving more towards 3-month commitment, 6-week commitment, because I want people to really see the transformation happening. And if you truly know, any sort of implementation of habits and changes, it really takes 90 days. It really takes 3 months. But I know people want what they want and they want it now, right? So I want people to see the transformation. I'm a very outcomes oriented and solution focused therapist and coach. So if this was your first time joining me and catching me, I really appreciate you being here. Let me know in the comments if you caught this live or as a replay. Again, my name is Dani. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a happiness transformation coach. Thank you for joining me. Take care of yourself. Have a great rest of your night, a great week, and I will see you on the next Tuesday's tea.